was a lead tank. It was on a cross street. And when I was coming through the cross street, they had two RPG shooters set up on my right side, one to my 9 degrees and one to about my 4 o'clock. I saw the one to my right. When I went to my machine gun to engage him, the one I didn't see put a rocket right in my hatch. So the rocket actually hit me on the helmet. And that's probably what saved my life, is the fact that it didn't detonate through me. It detonated off of me and kind of away from me.
Gunnery Sergeant Nick Popidich was fighting for his life. It was up to his crew to save him. But they couldn't stop fighting. They had to press on, battling through insurgents until they could finally head for help.
Well, from there, they took me, because like I said, we're the lead element, so there was nothing coming to where I was at. So we went to like a triage site right outside the city.
Blinded by his injuries and deaf from the rocket blast, Popidich climbs from his tank as a CNN crew captures the frightening moments.
I had holes in my skull big enough to stick your finger in, and I had holes in my neck, and you ain't gonna last real long if somebody doesn't get that bleeding stopped and get it stopped pronto. And then what they do from there, it's just amazing. Unfortunately, I couldn't see who any of these people were, or couldn't see what they did. I just kind of hear the story after the fact, but amazing work. I think if there's anything that I frequently, one thing that I take away from the experience that I always tell people about is that the quality of medicine that the Naval Medical side has, and it's kind of something that gets dragged through the mud quite a bit, and I think people don't realize how good these guys really are.
Days, weeks, months come and go, one operation after another. But for Gunny Popidich, the real battle is just starting. Shrapnel from the blast has damaged his optic nerve, and with only 8% of his vision recovered, he wonders where he might fit in. What can the Marine Corps offer him now?
That's when the part hits you. Well, what now? Is there something in the Marine Corps I can do? If they told me, Gunny, we need you to go over here and fill sandbags on the perimeter. You can't shoot, but you can help us improve the defense, help us clean weapons at the armory. I would have done it. That's what I wanted to do. And now 2004, back when I got hit, is different from now. And since then, the policy has changed quite a bit. But back then, they were very respectful about it and everything, and they treated me very fairly. But they were going to tell you, Gunny, I'm sorry, we got no place for a legally blind Gunny. It's just now what we do.
Today, Gunny still watches the battle scene play out, only now it's on a film set. But here, it's the crew who brings reality to this set. These film school students are all combat veterans, wounded warriors, taking part in a very special program specifically designed just for them.
I sent an email out for the opening of this school, Wounded Marine Careers Foundation. I knew it was for Wounded Marines, so I figured, okay, I'll go over there. I had no interest in any of this media stuff at all. I was going to go over there and just see if I knew somebody from the hospital or something like that. I was just going over to see if I'd see a familiar face. I really had absolutely no intention of doing anything with this school.
But then he met Emmy Award-winning cinematographer and foundation director Kev Lombard.
We first meet them and interview them. They're in the hospitals, most of them. Their self-esteem sometimes has been taken away. They don't know what the future is going to be for them. Some of them have families and wives, and so they're a little bit in that zone where they don't know what's coming up next. They are trying to heal, but what I find is that becoming a storyteller has a therapeutic healing aspect to it. So once we get them engaged and they realize that they have talent and they can do this, watching that transformation to from day one to when they graduate, watch the personalities grow and the confidence grow. I think that's the most rewarding thing.
It's been the most humbling thing I've ever been part of, because our first class came in, first of all, they had never used an Apple Mac computer. They had not ever, some of them used to joke that at the most they'd used a disposable camera at a wedding or something, but to come in here and start operating a Panasonic HVX 200 camera and learning Final Cut Pro on an Apple computer and using a stills camera and putting it all together to tell a story, they started on January 5th with not an idea of how they were going to do that. And within 10 days, they were making their own little films and out on the film lot doing assignments. And July 28th of this year, they were all inducted into the union.
When it came time when we graduated here, and where do you go from there? You know, luckily they wanted to keep me on board here as far as to continue to assist the next classes and make sure that those military core values are always enforced here and always the order of the day. And as I found out on the civilian world, every organization needs a company gunny. That's kind of one of those things, and I'm theirs.
When we found that we needed to go to work to stand up the next class and that we could work, that we could provide services so that we could start generating our own income. Who was our first contract? The Navy.
You know, we've started doing this other work with the Navy. And I mean, that's really fun because, you know, as much as I talk about taking these core values out into the civilian world, you sure miss being around military environments, military people. And then we started covering these military events. It's like coming home. It's like
a homecoming indeed, with an ironic twist.
So what were the chances that our first official assignment would be to cover the launching and christening of the Carl Brashear, who himself was a wounded veteran, who overcame all kinds of obstacles to achieve his personal goals, who, I mean, he literally is the symbol of the lifeblood of this entire foundation. And so for it to be our first assignment, to be able to, and the story of his personal strength and perseverance is a shining example of what our men and women can follow.
I christened the USNS Carl Brashear.
I never wanted a job that somebody was giving me just because I was wounded. I wanted a job that I could succeed on my own merits, that I could succeed I wanted an opportunity. That's all I wanted, is an opportunity to prove myself and to be able to stand next to the guy next to me and compete on a fair playing field.
Now, for those of us who who may watch this and may not understand, exactly how hard is it to rise to the rank that Carl Brashear did, especially considering the adversity he faced being African American and being an amputee?
The accomplishments of Carl Brashear at the time that he was coming up through our Navy, there was challenges. We had barriers. The opportunity, though we spoke of great opportunity, we didn't always hold ourselves to that as an institution. And the great thing that Carl Brashear did is he held us to that. He said, if you're going to say that, you have to do it.
You know, if your anatomy gets rearranged and your body's different now, the one thing that's the same is your character, who you are. You know, those core values. And this is something I tell guys in the hospital. This is something I would tell anybody. Is, you know, the core values. We didn't train you wrong. Those things that made you a good Marine, that made you a good rifleman, made you a good tank commander, whatever it is you do, they're going to make you good at everything you do in your life.